Driving is the most dangerous activity most of us do every single day. Texting and driving is a major factor in fatal driving accidents. So, let's talk about some high-tech yet hopefully simple ways we can combat texting while driving.
Yeah.
This is Geek Therapy Radio.
What are we waiting for?
And now your mental curator, Johnny Hamburger.
Welcome to Midweek Geek here on Geek Therapy Radio. I am back in the United States. I am back in Texas. I am back in Houston. If you can hear, I'm a little bit under the weather. By the way, I am Johnny Hamburger, your mental curator. I'm a little under the weather because I think I got a little parasite, little gut sadness, as my friend Daniel SSSSS calls it. I was in El Salvador for a bachelor party. It was just me and my best man, and we did really well. We didn't drink the water. We avoided eating food that was touched by the water until the second to last day. We ate a meal that had a salad in it, and as you know, salad is cleaned with water, and we think that's how we got our little stomach parasite. So after the bachelor party, when I had the stomach bug, I got married. I got married with the stomach bug. So let's just say it required some strategic planning of the ceremony in between. Well, you know what? I'll just leave it there because that has nothing to do with the subject today. The subject today is basically texting and driving. And I was thinking about this on the airplane back from El Salvador, actually. Just ideas to limit how much we text and drive, how much some of us text and drive, because texting and driving does kill people. It kills a lot of people every year. And I want to go over some statistics here just to kind of start putting a framework around texting and driving, how dangerous it is, and then we'll get into one or two of my ideas on how we can combat texting and driving using some high-tech methods, because it's one thing just to say or have your son or daughter swear to you, promise to you at 16 years old or wherever it is in your state when you get a driver's license, just promise to you that they'll never text and drive, because that's not true. That's not going to happen. Even I will admit right now that I guess I used to be worse with it when I first started driving, and we didn't know really all the implicit dangers, or the stats went out. I'm talking 10 years ago. After I got my license, there was a few years where we didn't have the ability to text and drive, even if we wanted to. But now with smartphones, it's become easier and easier. So I like to think that I don't text and drive. But I'm sure maybe if I'm really honest, there's probably 2 or 3 times a year that I might respond real quick with a okay or something like that. But I was never bad about it, but I am way better at it. I almost never look at my phone when I'm driving now. It's just not worth it. But like I said, almost never. I think even the best of us, we can only at best say almost never. You know that when you're texting somebody and they're texting back, you're like, wait a second, aren't you driving? I try not to text people when I know that they're driving, for instance. If I know my wife now, I just got married, by the way. Remember I just said that with my stomach gut? If I know my wife is driving, I'm not going to text her, and I will try very much to avoid even calling her. But if there was some way that, technologically speaking, we could prevent even having access to texting while we're driving, that would be even better. We'll get to that at the end of this video, because this video is going to be an open discussion. If you're watching a video, I say video, it's a podcast also. This is Midweek Geek here on the Geek Therapy Radio. But if you are watching it on YouTube, there's a comment section below, and you can add your ideas after I give my two or three ideas at the end of this discussion, just to kind of start it, just to get the ball rolling. But first, I want to give some stats here, just to start putting a framework around all this. 9 people a day die from distracted driving, and more than 1,000 people a day are injured. That's 9 people a day. Could you imagine if 9 people a day in the United States were killed in mass shootings? That doesn't happen. Mass shootings most certainly do happen, and it's terrible. But if every single day on the news, 9 people got shot in mass shootings, that would be crazy. Yet that's what's happening with distracted driving. 9 people per day are dying from distracted driving and texting and driving and fiddling with your phone. I'm saying texting and driving specifically, but I'm talking about any sort of fiddling with your phone. So checking Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, or God forbid you're watching YouTube while you're driving. Shame on you if you're doing that. But just fiddling with your phone in general. That's what this discussion is addressing. So 9 people a day die from distracted driving. In 2015 alone, almost 3,500 people were killed and 391,000 were injured. 3,500 people. So also in 2015, 350 people were killed in mass shootings in the United States. So the same year, 2015, 350 people were killed in mass shootings, but 10 times that were killed from distracted driving. 10 times that were killed from distracted driving. So that means you are 1,000% more likely to die by a distracted driver than in a mass shooting. On that note, in total, 38,300 people died in traffic accidents altogether. So in 2015, 38,300 people died altogether in traffic accidents. So remember that 350 people that same year died in mass shootings. That means, despite all the publicity and buzz naturally that goes along with a mass shooting because they are horrible things, despite that, you are literally 10,943% more likely to die in your car on your way to work than in a mass shooting. So how is it that our society is so shocked and horrified at mass shootings, yet we seem so blasé about our driving habits that by the numbers kill us on a scale that absolutely dwarfs mass shootings? And the answer really is simple. There's a few factors to this. One is that mass shootings, it's shock value, it's fear, and politics. Dying in a mass shooting is a nightmare. It gives those of us who have not, thank God, have not been involved in mass shootings. It gives us nightmares even though we're not involved in it, just because we're so. It seems like it's lurking around every corner when really it's not. Statistically, it is not. But it is a nightmare. Dying in a mass shooting is a nightmare. It's a nightmare scenario. Mass shootings are horrible. But getting into our car every day is mundane. Yet, that mundane activity is where we are 110 times more likely to die than in a mass shooting. That's crazy to think about. We can watch the news, turn on the news, and see a horrible mass shooting, and we think, that's so terrible, because it is terrible. That's such a terrible thing. Oh, the world, what is it coming to? I don't feel safe anywhere I go. And then you get into your car like it's nothing. But getting into your car, you are so much more likely to die in that car many, many, many times, many folds over than you are to be shot by a bullet. Yet we get into our car every day without even thinking about it, and we're driving to work, and we're doing our makeup, and we're doing whatever. We're fiddling with the radio. We're too lazy to even use a blinker to signal a lane change. It's like driving, despite it being so dangerous, driving on our list of things to do in the car, driving is comes second or third or fourth, God forbid, from whatever we're doing, from whatever this text we got to get out, from whatever this comment we have to leave on Facebook or something like that. Driving seems to be pretty far down the list of our priorities when we're in the car. And that is why it is so much more dangerous. You could be looking at a Twitter feed in your car about a mass shooting while you're driving. You see what I'm saying there? That's crazy. You can be fear-mongering and getting your fear fix of the latest mass shooting on your Twitter feed while you're driving to work, oblivious to the fact that what you are doing is so much more dangerous than ever being involved, than the possibility and chances of being involved in a mass shooting. Do you kind of get what I'm saying here? The most mundane thing we do every day, one of the most mundane things we do, is actually one of the most dangerous. Okay, let's move on a little bit from here. It's kind of funny to me, it's just coming to my mind that John Madden, if those of you know who John Madden is, he's a famous NFL announcer. He has a deathly fear of flying and only travels by bus. So it's funny how the mind works sometimes and how it makes you feel more peaceful with an activity that is actually hundreds of times more dangerous than the one you fear. If John Madden would fly to every one of his engagements and every one of the games, he would actually be many thousands, I don't want to say many thousands of times more safe, but I really believe that is what it is. I'm not going to verify that, but flying, for how many millions of people fly, how many millions of miles flown driving, it's not any surprise. You are so much more likely to die on the way to the airport than in the actual plane. Flying by plane is the safest way to travel by far. We have known that for decades. Yet John Madden has this he has this fear of flying, this deathly fear of flying that keeps him from flying. So he feels more comfortable doing the more dangerous thing, that is traveling around in a bus. It's very funny the way the brain works like that. But let's get back to the point. While, yes, of course, addressing gun violence is vitally important, don't get me wrong here, there is a deadly activity that actually kills 10 times more people every year that we can address and save even more lives while we, of course, figure out gun violence as well. So, of course, I'm talking about distracted driving, but specifically texting and driving and fiddling with your phone in general. So, the discussion I'm proposing here isn't to offer any concrete roadmap towards saving lives, but to open a dialogue of hopefully realistic ideas that we can put into place to reduce more avoidable funerals. If you're watching this on YouTube, like I mentioned before, this is where the comment section comes in. That's what it's for. I'm very curious to your ideas on this subject. As you know, Geek Therapy Radio is a community where we can share cool hobbies, scientific arguments, tech opinions, and even ideas on how to improve things like traffic safety. So, with that being said, here are just a few of my personal ideas to get the ball rolling. With any luck, the tech giants might catch wind of it and actually implement some of our ideas. I'll say right now that even if you're not watching this on YouTube, even if you're just listening to the podcasts, go find it on YouTube. Go find Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube and add to the comments section below. If you're listening to a podcast on a source that for some reason allows you to comment below, of course, comment below. And you can always email me, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com. That's geektherapy@iheartmedia.com with your ideas on this matter, on how we can reduce the loss of life over distracted driving when it comes to fiddling with your phone or texting and driving. So, like I said, I'm going to get the ball rolling with just a couple of my ideas right here. So these are kind of specific ideas, but you are free to expand upon them, add your completely unique ideas. But I'm just thinking about kind of the technology, what we can do with the technology we already have, infrastructure that's already in place to, like I said, reduce the number of needless funerals that are surrounded by texting and driving or fiddling with your phone and driving. So number one, my first idea is to use location and various sensor data. So use your phone's location data and various sensor data to lock out your phone when it detects you're in a vehicle. So maybe if you're driving over, if your phone is moving over 5 miles per hour, it basically locks out your phone for everything but emergency 911 calls. However, if you're connected to a hands-free Bluetooth, like your car's Bluetooth, most every car now comes with hands-free Bluetooth connectivity for your phone, you can still make calls to contacts or verbally tell your phone to send a text. You can say, okay, Google, send a text to my wife about whatever. But that's only if the phone detects that you are attached to a hands-free Bluetooth. If you get in a vehicle or if the phone detects that it's moving more than 5 miles an hour and you're not connected to any Bluetooth device, it just locks out your phone for everything except for making a 911 emergency call. That's the first idea. And with these ideas, there are caveats, and I'll bring that up in a moment here. But the second idea, which I think is kind of more doable and even is much less intrusive on people's freedoms, I'll just say. And having a phone isn't a right. It's not a right, it's a privilege. Just like driving is a privilege. People say driving is a right. No, it's not a right. Driving is a privilege. You have to prove to the state that you are competent enough to drive. You're not just given a driver's license for no reason. It's a privilege. Having a phone is a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege, and you can and should be able to lose that privilege, which gives me instant ideas to all sorts of things. If you're caught texting and driving, you lose your access to a cell phone for a year or something like that as part of your fine. Anyways, kind of like someone who gets a DUI has to blow into a breathalyzer before they can start their engine, something like that. But that's just all sorts of ideas that you can comment on if you're watching this on YouTube, or email me. So, like I said, number 2, this is kind of the least obtrusive. At the very least, use the same methods of detection, so the GPS and the location sensors, because location sensing, how your phone knows your location, isn't just based on GPS. It also uses Wi-Fi signals and even just simple triangulation between the tower you and the satellite you're connected to. Or any other between two towers. It can triangulate wherever you are. Doesn't need GPS, doesn't need Wi-Fi, just needs you to be on the network, period. So use sensors and things like that to basically detect when you are moving more than 5 miles per hour, and it doesn't lock you out from your phone or anything like that in this scenario I'm getting at, but what it does is your friend who's thinking about calling you, in their contacts list, it shows a red vehicle, a little red badge, little red like car badge, vehicle icon next to your name, so that someone trying to text you knows, hey, Johnny is in a car. Johnny is in a vehicle. Maybe I shouldn't text him right now. Maybe I'll wait till that little red icon goes away. That way I know that he's not driving. Then I'll send a text. Going even further on that note, when your phone detects that you're moving more than 5 miles per hour, at the network level, it blocks incoming texts to your phone. So let's say someone tries to text you, your network detects that you're moving, that you're in a car, or you're most likely in a car, and it basically puts that text in limbo for a little bit until you are moving less than 5 miles an hour, meaning that you're probably outside of a vehicle and not riding a bicycle or something. It waits till you have not moved more than 5 miles per hour for 5 minutes or something like that. So it says, okay, they're probably not in a moving vehicle right now. Now we'll let the text go through. That could happen at the network level, and that seems to me that wouldn't require a whole lot of implementation. Again, these ideas that I'm basing this on, and at least initially, are just ideas to use what we already have commonly available, stuff that's already in the infrastructure, stuff we can already use. That's not anything new that we have to implement, or it requires any more R&D and millions of dollars to implement. It's just things that we already have available that we can just use, a simple software, a little patch. So, for instance, I use T-Mobile. T-Mobile could usher in an update that would know when you're in a vehicle, or make a logical assumption that you're in a vehicle, and put a little red car icon next to my name and everyone else's contacts list to let them know that I'm not unreachable, but you can't text me right now. Or at the very least, you shouldn't text me right now. So T-Mobile could do something like that. By the way, side note, here's a little side note tidbit of information for you. Have you ever wondered how, when you look at your Google Maps, how it knows heavy traffic, how it knows where the traffic jams are, how it knows to put green for free-flowing traffic, orange for slower traffic, red for traffic jam, something like that? Because a lot of us, I don't have GPS on my phone all the time. I have that turned off for battery savings and just tinfoil hat reasons. Why does the government or whoever need to know where I'm at 24 hours a day? I'm not really that tinfoil hat about it, but it's just for anything but battery savings. I turn the GPS off. Well, goes back to what I said, triangulating. If you have your cell phone on and you are connected to any network, any cellular phone network, it triangulates, and it knows that even if your location services aren't on, it knows that a phone is moving down this freeway at this speed, just a random, completely randomized, a logarithm, completely randomized. You're not a real person. It's not any specific data. It just knows that there's a bunch of phones in this area moving very slowly on this road. So that's how it tells traffic information based on everyone has a cell phone. So it just triangulates everyone's cell phone through the different roads and streets and knows, oh, here's these phones. There's a cluster of phones sitting at this intersection for too long. Let's put a little red mark on the map here to show that there's a traffic jam in this area. You don't have to have your location on or anything like that. You just have to have your phone on, period, for the network to triangulate your speed, your location, to give those traffic updates on your maps, on your Waze, and on your Google Maps and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, there's ways that the network can track that you are moving more or less than 5 miles per hour. So they should put a little icon on your name and everyone else's contacts list to let them know that you are driving, so they should not text you. And if they do text you, it's just kind of put into text limbo until the network detects that you're not moving more than 5 miles an hour for a period of 5 minutes or something, and then it lets the text through once it knows it's not going to be distracting you if you are most likely driving. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. What a lot of you are thinking of it right now. What if you are just a passenger in a vehicle? Let's say you're sitting in the back seat of a car. So you are moving, 60 miles an hour along with the car, but you're not driving. You should be free to text and look at your Twitter and your social media, whatever you want to do, because you're not driving. You're just a passenger in the car. You shouldn't be restricted or held to the same standards of the driver of the car. That is something that would need some consideration. That is one of those problems that we could figure out. We have figured out a lot of as a species, a lot as humans. We figured out how to invent cell phones, for instance, the very subject matter we're talking about today. So we should be able to figure out this hurdle. How do you keep it so that just the driver doesn't receive text? And by the way, what I mean not receiving text, I mean that the driver shouldn't have access to social media. I mean, if the network, if you're like T-Mobile, for instance, realizes that you are most likely in a car, you're most likely driving a car, you are driving a car, you shouldn't have access to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. Not just texting. Any sort of distracting behavior that can be induced by or provided by your smartphone. All of that should be blocked out. Unless you're attached to Bluetooth and your heads through the car's radio, then you can make calls. You can tell your phone to text somebody. But yeah, we can figure out how to make cell phones. Let's figure out how to make it so that the driver cannot be distracted by the phone. And I think using what I just said, all the resources we have available, the infrastructure we have available, that we can figure out. All we have to do is figure out how to make it only affect the driver, but not affect anyone in the passenger seat. How can you do that? I mean, like a little prompt that comes up, are you driving? Yes or no? Because drivers would just lie at that point. No, I'm not driving. I'm just a passenger. Click, open my phone up for all my distractions. So we'd have to figure that out. And it could go as far as to say, well, I mean, there are technological ways where we can figure that out. You can have auto manufacturers, put sensors in a driver's seat that correspond with your phone somehow, and it could say, okay, this account, you're sitting in the driver's seat, your phone is inoperable unless you are on hands-free Bluetooth or something like that. It could be something like that. It would require was more implementation, more research and development, a little bit more cost, and that's the major caveat is cost. If this is going to cost something, it's less likely to happen. Not that it won't happen, it's just less likely to happen. If Ford knows that they can implement this new safety feature, but it's going to cost them $100 million to do, at that point it would take the government mandating it, like they've mandated hands-free, and has the government mandated hands-free in the United States at least? I don't know if it's... maybe it is. Don't quote me on that. But there's ways to do it. So anyways, I'll wrap it up with this because I'm going on a little bit here. What are your ideas to lock the driver out from phone distractions and therefore reduce the casualties, not only in the United States, but all over the world, all over Europe and Asia? I think there's things that we can implement using the infrastructure we already have that can reduce those fatality numbers based on people fiddling with their phones and taking Instagram pictures. I had some idiots. Oh my gosh, I love my friends, but sometimes you're dumb and you take stupid little videos of your speedometers going, oh, my car is limited to 106 miles per hour. Stop doing that, you dummy. Oh my gosh, that's like a dumb criminals type of thing. What am I getting a ticket for? Well, you posted to your friggin' Facebook of you driving 106 miles an hour in a 60 mile per hour zone. You idiot. I love you, you're my friend, but you're an idiot. Don't do that. I'm sorry, I'm getting over this. All right, well, thanks for listening to Midweek Geek here on Geek Therapy Radio. I'm happy to be back in the United States where I can drink the water without getting sick or having diarrhea on my wedding day. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be married to my beautiful bride, Sarah, who you've heard on the show. Mazel tov to us. Congratulations to us. I'm so happy about that. But again, light me up in the comments section. Let me know your ideas on this subject. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to catch the big episode of Geek Therapy Radio as it usually drops on Fridays and airs on Saturday nights. And remember, if you're here in Houston, or well, actually, if you're anywhere in the world, the last Saturday of each month, so the 30th of this month, last Saturday each month, Geek Therapy Radio is live on the air, KPRC 950 AM at 10 p.m. Central Time. Here in Houston or worldwide on the iHeartRadio app. Geek Therapy Radio airs every Saturday night at 10 p.m., but the last Saturday night of each month is live, and I want to talk to you. The number, just to save right now, 713-212-5950. That's the number you can call when I do go live on the last Saturday of every month at 10 p.m. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in a little bit. Be good to each other. Embrace your geek thing. We're all geeks about something, and that is awesome. That makes you sexy that you're a geek about something. So don't ever lose your geek thing and keep searching for new geek things. And a good place to start that search and hear about all sorts of crazy geek things is right here on Geek Therapy Radio. I'll see you guys in a couple days. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening. My voice sounds kind of sexy right now. No? Okay.